What defines bizarre? Is it speeding down a practically vertical incline on a bike and bailing out to near-fatal capacity? Is it a collection of trinkets so intense it could scare off not one, but 5 wives? Is it participating in a pyrotechnic display of epic proportions? To some, it may be all three, while others might disagree entirely. Perhaps to others, the word bizarre means self-mutilation, broken bones, voluntary electrocution, even cannibalism. What follows is a collection of random situations, events, and people, all with one common thread. No matter how you define the word, each one can be considered bizarre, if not totally terrifying. On the Thailand tourist island of Phuket, there is an ancient Taoist ritual that will never be understood by foreigners. This is not body piercing with ornate trinkets, but rather impaling with household objects. Once a year in the steamy hills in the old town of Phuket, gods descend to earth and take possession of local souls. The result being that these human beings fall into a trance and impale themselves with any sharp object that comes to hand. Sound like an interesting way to spend the day, walking around looking like that?
It's something incredible. We have to see that. We have to see that in life. Only one time, yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing to look at.
I have a bit of weak feeling in my body today. I was not prepared for this.
Tourists watch in awe and general disgust as these spiritual tough guys gouge themselves with lampshades, crowbars, knives, even beach umbrellas. Anything with a sharp point seems to suffice in this ritual.
This is a time for abstention, for purification. It's a Lent, because they believe in this time, because of the constellation of the stars, it is a time of calamity. So by conducting this ritual, they can avoid this and at the same time, instead, achieve peace and harmony, even prosperity. Right.
Perhaps the tourists are only in town to witness the display of these spiritual masochists. If so, the memories will surely remain vivid.
จำได้อะไรบ้างจำไม่ได้เลยมันเหมือนคนหลับ
Feel even the tiniest urge to put your finger in an electrical socket? If you said yes, you might be nearly as bizarre as this man. Using himself as an electric conductor, he is able to obliterate this sausage, along with parts of his body, no doubt. He has made an appearance in the Guinness Book of World Records for his electrical receptivity and continues to work with electrical currents all throughout his body. He seems comfortable with the most daunting of tasks involving electricity. Here his arm is, shall we say, casually lit on fire. He's clearly developed an immunity to this kind of pain. Perhaps it has something to do with his electric personality, or maybe he's just insane.
Photo.
If you tend to fall asleep in taxis, try this one on for a change. It's a disco, cabaret, and cyber cafe rolled into one bright, borderline obnoxious conveyance. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a blinding, narcoleptic, seizure-inducing, and no doubt bumpy ride.
Fabulous!
Nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Seulement aux États-Unis, only in America.
Far from Silicon Valley, welcome to Aspen, Colorado, a friendly ski resort where you can ride around as you please. Some go with the Cadillac, very American. Others go with the Harley-Davidson, very 60s. Some prefer the Carriage, very Western. But the one you mustn't miss is the yellow taxi cab.
On the outside, it looks like a regular taxi, but it's not a regular taxi.
The ultimate taxi belongs to John Barnes, and he will personally take you on a ride into the future.
Oh, hey, welcome to the ultimate taxi. Welcome aboard.
John Barnes is not your average driver. He doesn't do standard things like hold the steering wheel while he drives because he's too busy driving his passengers into another dimension. In the world of the internet, this taxi driver has spun his web using the latest technology.
I started driving this car in 1984, but it turned into a rock and roll laser nightclub in 1990 because I wanted to make it the craziest taxi in the whole world. I wanted to make sure it was the craziest taxi in the history of transportation.
Yes, welcome aboard. It's jazz time in the Ultimate Taxi as we shift gears in the world's only musical comedy nightclub in a cab.
Something tells me that John has achieved what he set out for, the craziest taxi ever. John is crazy about electronics and computing. Besides being a true showman, DJ, and musician, he clearly isn't lacking in humor. His show is finely tuned. He has pushed creativity to the limit. For John's special clients, the show is even more fantastic. Satisfaction guaranteed.
I like to think of the taxi as a spaceship, and maybe I can bring the whole world in this taxi with the internet and make them all laugh together. That's my goal.
Unbelievable.
Woo! It's excellent.
Besides all the crazy music and sound equipment, I also have the internet in the car and the webcam, and all the files fly through a high-speed internet connection, which is located right over here.
John has cut no corners. As soon as you get into the ultimate taxi, the whole world knows about it. Laser disco balls, synthesizer, electronic drums, webcam, smoke machine, party novelties. A singular taxi with a single fare, $125 a trip, high speed included. The spying game. We go to spy school to find out the tricks of the trade that have fascinated writers and conspiracy theorists for decades.
Washington is the only capital where the concentration of espionage activities is simply unparalleled. Inevitably, it is the hub of the center the nerve center of espionage.
If you leave your coat, you leave your jacket, do you ever think that it's very, very easy to put in a small, tiny microphone, a transmitter, and a little, what they call a hearing aid battery that could be very easily put in the lining of your jacket, inserted in less than 1 minute? So you take your coat back with you, you go on to your meeting, and you're a walking radio station.
On World News Tonight, the FBI agent accused of betraying his country.
Betrayal and treason. An FBI agent accused of leading a double life.
These discreet, bizarre methods of data capture led to revealing an FBI agent's secret communication.
An American citizen, an FBI agent, is accused of selling U.S. government documents to the Kremlin.
It's romance, it's adventure, it's excitement, it's fear, it's murder, it's deception, it's seduction, it's almost everything.
He has paralyzed his previous career into something called the Washington, D.C. Spy Tour.
My office was on the top floor of this building. The Soviet embassy was not only the nerve center of espionage, it also was a center which attracted potential spies who would walk in.
The tour goes throughout the city discussing practices of a time and past. A history, if you will.
If something goes wrong, they will stay in the shadows. Everyone in the
While this tour deals with the knowledge from a man removed from the FBI, it still contains interesting information about the FBI's bizarre methods of data retrieval.
They may pass by this mailbox, they will read what's on it, just in chalk, across, or maybe a line, a small innocuous signal which would mean that you have to come for an emergency meeting.
What do your former colleagues, even if they're still in the intelligence game, what do they think about the spy drive tour?
Most of my colleagues detest me, that's at best. Despise, detest, hate most of my former colleagues. And even Mr. Putin, who is another colleague of mine, he was my subordinate years ago. He declared publicly that I am a traitor. To show to the Soviet leadership how deeply we penetrated the United States government that we could even listen to most intimate conversations of spouses like Henry Kissinger and others.
Just a standard pair of shoes. It could be your pair of shoes. However, at the point they were ordered, someone modified them. And what they did was put in literally a complete radio station. And there is a complete transmitter, a microphone. There's a tiny airway that is here for the sound to reach the microphone, and it's all activated by this pin. And how it was designed was, this was literally the ambassador's difficult things in the world an intelligence service has to do is how do you introduce a listening device into a closed area? And their answer was very clever. Just have the ambassador carry it in.
The International Spy Museum should shed light on what it really takes to be an effective spy.
Nothing like this has ever been done before. It is being done to the level that will excite a professional. At the same time, it will intrigue an 8-year-old.
The International Spy Museum should shed light on what it really takes to be an effective spy. The spy culture has always raised questions and eyebrows, from its cloak of secrecy to the brilliantly inconspicuous gadgets created to enforce that secrecy. The spy world is something that will always pique interest.
What it really is a Soviet rollover camera. We have one of the most important collections of intelligence artifacts to draw from in Mr. Milton's collection. So And this one's been modified to become a buttonhole camera. You can see the buttons on the front, and it would have been mounted inside the jacket. The little document camera here that is only for photographing documents, and on a roll of film, this could photograph about 200 documents.
That tiny camera,
that
200?
Tiny camera, yes.
Why no American intelligence exhibits in here?
Well, what we've shown you primarily are KGB and Stasi, East German intelligence equipment. Those two organizations no longer exist. Ours still does. Therefore, our technology is still active and being used in the field still.
The secrecy remains intact as the FBI uses all its power to track down potential threats at home and abroad. Death is a close companion in Haiti. Funerals are accompanied with songs, dancing, and music. Of those who attend, many wear white. The dead are buried inside family graves, many of which look like small homes. They have iron doors and locks to keep prospective burglars away. But there is nothing to steal here, apart from the dead themselves. Body snatching is not unusual in Haiti. Human bones are held to carry magical properties. This belief is strongest among the Hogan, the voodoo priests. What relatives fear most is that a magician will attempt to bring their loved one back to life. Mr. Andre Elian, who has studied Haitians' traditions in depth.
In Haiti, we always say to the intellectual people, well, you want to take my land, you want to take whatever I have in it, but I will not go to the court. I'm going to the mountain court. I'm going to the mountain court, meaning that I'm going to voodoo to take care of you on voodoo.
The tale of Clervius Narcisse is a well-known one, not only within Haiti, but also worldwide. His case was heard around the world during the 80s, but Clervius Narcisse has been dead since 1962. The hospital certified his death.
Li mette li nan morgue, parents li vini chercher li.
Mr. Anton Velius was the hospital's morgue attendant at the time, and we knew Narcisse well. They were close friends. He recalls that Narcisse's brother did not want a post-mortem carried out.
Ben, te dit non. Moi, ma autopsie frère, ouais. Parce qu'elle est pas belle de ça. Allez, me dire Stella. Me dit docteur Stella, il faut avoir les photos. Mais si c'est ça.
Mr. Velius placed Narcisse in a coffin and nailed the lid shut. In doing so, a nail penetrated the coffin and struck his friend in the face. Velius then bent over and said,
C'est pas moi non qui tue ou va chercher mon nom.
We move now from zombies to witches. Witches, who a few centuries ago were burnt at the stake. Today, however, they're opening shops. They cast spells and prepare magic potions.
As our circle, we ask for the blessings from the goddess. A love spell is like a small miracle, the extension of your own psychic. And what we're doing in the love spell is we want to attract that very special person to either fall in love with us or desire us.
Babette is an initiate of Wicca, a philosophy that increases the strength of the mind by communicating with the invisible forces of our world. It requires a lot of self-control.
Love, love where you are found. Love, love, come around. The people who come here are absolutely normal. They're people who are just seeking a different path, and they want to use more of their God-given power with the mind, which is so powerful that we really don't realize how much that we can do with ourselves, and that how much of ourselves is in our own way to attain the things that we want. And it's like freeing the shackles from the mind.
Babetta has tidied away her broom and her witch's hat. She's a modern witch. She's adapted to suit her customers. She has a remedy for all ills, such as money, love, health, and work. Her business associate, Dennis, is also her potion preparer. He knows all the magic formulas that will help Alex find the road to professional success.
Another resin called benzoyl which allows the sweet smell of success to surround your project.
Sounds good to me.
You to hold that.
I'll be putting some more in here.
You bring that to your third eye. Yes. Bring it over your heart and see and feel. So stand before the magic mirror, reach slightly into the magic mirror, just slightly into it. Let it act as a window, doorway, through which you will reach your success. Reach now into the magic mirror and speak your words.
May my vision come to pass, so mote it be.
While Dennis charges for each gram of magical powder, Barbetta can give her Wicca classes. Business is good. UT George's reputation and competence as a sorcerer is incontestable. His witchcraft boutique is the oldest in the United States. His knowledge of the occult and all the different witchcraft movements is such that even the Los Angeles Crime Squad regularly call on him to decipher certain clues.
One policeman from the sheriff's department had some background and had attended one of my classes, and he encouraged the homicide investigators to ask me to look at the crime scene. And just 2 pieces of red string tied in a knot and a cigar ash, I was able to determine that it was indeed associated with a cult grouping.
George is sometimes visited by the students from Hollywood High School, but he's also visited by followers of any number of beliefs, from the most harmless to the most frightening.
I follow myself the same way mythologically Lucifer followed himself and he became the first Satan. I become another Satan, except in the 20th century.
George enjoys his daily work of solving people's problems. He used to be a policeman in narcotics, so he's no stranger to magic dust.
This morning I had a lady come in who was having problems with something attacking her in her sleep, assaulting her house. So I prepared an old Solomonic wash purification that included hyssop, holy water, salt, and indigo. Told her how to spray the house down and also wash down each member of the family with the same material. If that failed, I then instructed her to come back and I would go out and do an exorcism myself.
George has a battery of responses. He can concoct over 10,000 potions in all. These giant rodents, or nutria as they're most accurately known, were first imported into Thailand about 4 years ago. Back then, the Thai economy was still booming, and get-rich-quick schemes were all the rage. This one seemed a surefire winner. Overcome your natural revulsion, buy a pair of breeding rats, let them do what rats do best, and sell the offspring back at a huge and guaranteed profit. Charnwit Charinsuk was just one of the thousands of farmers who signed on. Charnwit was so sold on the idea, he gave up his pigs and his chickens. Low-maintenance rats, who eat a lot but rarely dies, seemed the answer to his and many other farmers' prayers.
The scheme itself is very attractive. With a pair of nutria, within a couple of years you can get at least 100 of them. You see, with a pair of nutria, you put an investment of 20,000 baht. You see, and by the end of 2 or 3 years, you can get 40, 50 times or that much. See, So it's very attractive to farmers.
The reason for all this optimism was the promise of a huge new fashion industry, the very latest in high fashion, a rat fur coat. They were grand visions that these fur coats would one day be exported to the rich in Hong Kong, Japan, and Taiwan, but the industry has collapsed before it began. It seems the international market wasn't ready for something that sounds as appealing as a rat fur coat. Until recently, the term Big Brother conjured up all-pervading authoritarianism of the Soviet state. Most people now think of it as a reality television franchise. The latest incarnation of Big Brother format has taken off in the country that first inspired the term. The Russian version is set in a house in Germany. It created a barrage of protest in that country, but has taken Russia by storm. From this moment, it's Hunger for You. 12 people have passed rigorous tests to participate in the Hunger Project. Now they're going to an unknown city and an unknown country. Like other Big Brother reality programs, Golod, meaning hunger, throws a group of total strangers together and observes their interaction for weeks on end. But Golod has an extreme twist. The contestants are deprived of food and made to fend for themselves in a foreign country.
It was a joke. It was a joke I made at dinner when I was very hungry. I said we won't make the ratings unless someone dies of hunger in a Big Brother house. That was a very black joke, but the bosses seem to love it.
Alyssa Tangskaya is head of development for the Russian television network, TNT. Born in Moscow, her family moved to Australia when she was 11. She returned 3 years ago to work in Russia's booming new television market. After initially being shocked that her joke was taken seriously, she decided the program could be inspirational for young Russians. At first, the contestants thought they had come to paradise. The program's producers had prepared a surprise banquet for their arrival. According to series producer Masha Shaikovich, the excitement was short-lived.
$1000 до конца своей жизни ежемесячно. Такой для русских, вот чтобы не работать.
News that the program was sending hungry Russians out into the streets caused outrage across Germany.
Нет, ну не Франция точно, это же про Францию. А что вы тут начали? Какой-нибудь это? Пошли быстрее. Причем тут Советский Союз, если бы это была какая-нибудь Франция или еще что-то? Вот туда аэропорт. Это Берлин, мы оттуда приехали. Это какой-то... Короче, у меня есть на компьютере вот эта штука.
Встретил хорошей осенней погодой. Как знать, может быть, сегодня им повезет.
Давай посмотрим. Ты думаешь, он на самом деле реальный? Может, он тоже снимается в каком-нибудь реалити-шоу? Только в другом. Excuse me, do you speak English?
Yes.
I am Russian student.
Yeah.
TV show. We take part in some reality show.
Oh, yeah?
I'm very hungry.
You're hungry?
Very hungry.
We're hungry. I'm always hungry. Americans are always...
Lurid newspaper stories accused the show's producers of imprisoning and starving the contestants. Politicians called for the show to be banned.
That is absolutely terrible and disgusting that young girls have to go on the streets with nothing, no money, nothing, not knowing where they are, and at least doing everything to survive. And I can't believe that in our time it's possible to do so.
It's what people do every day anyway. They earn money for food and for shelter, and our contestants do not have to earn money for shelter because we provide that. So it is the most real reality show, really.
I hope it will be not possible in Germany to send young persons in that way on the street. You don't know what's happened. They could be prostitutes, they could do crimes.
Ну хорошо, мы можем снять вверх, низ. Это как бы все.
Не, нормально могу низ.
нами на танцевальной поддержке. Люба из Москвы. Огромные аплодисменты, пожалуйста. Я здесь слышу вас, ребята. Покажите наши.
Lyuba earned 50 euros for the house fund for food, alcohol, and cigarettes.
Сегодня на турнире по шашкам первый полуфинал. За шашечной доской сошлись Никита и Настя.
Нет.
Какой кусок тебе?
Вот этот.
Look how that can work. If you just get off your butts and try and do something for yourselves, you can do it. You can build a little community, you can survive, you can do whatever. And it didn't really work.
My friend hungry.
I know that Russia has been putting itself back together again for the last 10 years, but if that's how it's planning to do it, it's going to be a very long time before it puts itself back together again.
The food crusher. Launching tarts, disintegrating hot dogs, watermelons, bottles of water, and spitting on people are all part of Gallagher's job, and he's been doing it for over 20 years. In the United States, Gallagher is a star. His incredible inventions have contributed to his fame. The bicycle with square wheel belongs to him, as does the anti-theft door.
Hello, c'est moi, Gallagher. Sorry.
But Gallagher's real fame, the reason for which people pack the show halls in New York and Las Vegas, comes from his out-of-the-ordinary one-man show. 2 hours of pure but organized madness. Gallagher takes particular care with the preparation of the ingredients for his show. Ingredients which he will disintegrate in just a few hours for the sheer delight of his audience. The room is full yet again tonight. The ritual never changes as the spectators conscientiously cover themselves with great big plastic bags. As the tension rises, the indomitable food crusher can come on stage.
You better have your plastic. You never know what I'll do. I don't even need a hose. All I need to do is walk out here with a bottle of champagne, you idiot!
After 20 years, I know what they think. They like it. There's two audiences. The ones getting splashed and the ones watching the ones getting splashed.
During the first part of the show, Gallagher prepares his munitions. In true profession style, he chooses the most sticky, the most slimy, the most disgusting ingredients. Gherkins, melons, mushrooms, cheese, butter, cat food, creamy shakes, all in seasoned with maple syrup, ketchup, or egg whites. Anything goes for our explosives expert, and the proportions are big.
A rocket pie. Let's start with cream corn as the fuel. Then we'll use little baby corns as the rockets set around the edge. So when I smack in the middle, them some bitches go flying. See? Okay. There, because this will do a lot better. I got 'em! They weren't even looking. Because I know that pickle pie can go that far. I'm seeing it.
Gallagher got his idea for the show while watching an advert for a food blender on television. At the time, he was unemployed. He was not to remain so for long.
And do you want these hot dogs to go? How far?
Gallagher's newfound profession teaches us that sometimes it's more fun to obliterate your food with a mallet than it is to eat. It's a man's world. It's a man's world, sings James Brown. For many, it's the attraction of this macho world that has lured them to New York. Diane Torr can fulfill the dreams of women wanting to become men for a day. The women are not interested in becoming transsexuals, but rather make a fleeting visit into manhood out of sheer curiosity. Tracy Mildred and Ache are their female names. In the outside world, where they all have the conservative jobs as sound recordist, bookkeeper, and secretary.
Basically, the structure will be, you're all going to dress in your men's clothes. I'm going to teach you breast binding, that's the first thing, and how to make a penis. And then I'm going to put on male clothes.
Jay? AJ? Come on in. I don't think we have a... Well, I have some... Yes.
This is a club kid?
Something like that, sure. Some kind of a sleazy. Sleazy pimp type.
Oh, I see.
It has more to do with gender than to do with sex, I would say. But I do find definitely, I think it's sexy for women to explore different kinds of images of themselves that are different than stereotypical images. And women with mustaches, I think, are fabulous. What can I say? I do.
Tracy has been a drag king for a few years already, and is a woman who loves turning into a man. She's helping the others to choose their man's clothes. They cut hair pieces to form mustaches, but their makeup takes the longest. The former stripper Diane was New Yorker's first drag king. She's a mother, but here displays the first steps in changing from a woman to a man, breast binding. No one needs to wear a bra, she tells them.
What you have to do is, of course, take off your bra. You can't really bind your breasts on top of the bra. And you need to have a wide bandage that's elasticated.
Then, using a wide bandage, she starts up by hiding her most obvious protrusions, her nipples.
I'm going to get the nipples covered first of all. And as you go up gradually, this is the first step.
That's right up, lady.
This is the first step.
Great. So maybe we'll take care.
The women are nervous, perhaps not convinced that the bandages can hide everything.
But if you're going to be slit corporate, you're going to have an iron shirt and down the front.
The businesswoman has to learn how to tie her tie. This shows how little women know about men's underpants. Diane Torr knows what she is doing. After a theater performance, she didn't have time to change and met her friends in a bar as a man. They didn't recognize her, and some even tried to pick her up. That made her decide to learn how to act and behave like a man.
And this is very useful for keeping the penis.
The transformation is nearly complete, but first, they have to make their own appendage. Instructions are blunt and to the point. Diane says it's like stuffing a sausage, and she assures them that everyone's will be different. Now it's makeup time for Diane, alias Danny King. There's the obligatory mustache and less smiling, more frowning like a proper chap. This is not the first time for Mildred. She finds it erotic, but her appendage is a curious addition.
Stuff it like you would a sausage, I mean. But I know that everyone has a different way of making a penis. We don't deal with the testicles with the balls because it's just way too complicated.
I like you singing that. It feels good. It feels, you know, I feel like I was maybe some 70s dude in another life or something, but it's feels, I'm very at ease, very comfortable.
You want your brow?
What a shot! It's incredible. Woo.
Most of the women have no idea how they'll look as a man, except Mildred, who knows exactly what sort of man she wants to be. Others feel less comfortable.
Everybody gets old.
Oh, I think he was very handsome. Does this talk to you? Well, how does it feel? Well, it's certainly helping the effect of like standing bigger. That's for sure. Like I feel like I got something to show off or something. I don't know.
How about we use my magic word, yin-sid? Can you guys say yin-sid? That's Disney spelled backwards. Ready on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yin-sid. Oh my. Back together again. One solid piece of rope. Thank you. Thank you.
Meet George Regan of the USA. Some might refer to him as Disney's #1 fan, and here's why. Every inch of his body has become a home drawing of Mickey, Minnie, and friends. He has 878, that's right, 878 tattoos of the Disney persuasion. The system for good and bad is as follows: villains below the knees, heroes above. He has even gone so far as to be hiding a Pinocchio tattoo behind his Mickey Mouse boxers. George even has different habitats designated on his person, like the ocean.
I grew up watching Disney like everybody else, but I never realized there was this many characters.
George, despite his dismal relationship record in the past, is going for #6. He hopes that she can relate to his undying passion for Disney body art.
Eventually I'm going to have my 2 front teeth tattooed. Starting to do that now. 2 Mickey Mouses. Figure out the cat is inside a bubble, so we can, breathe under the ocean. On the front here, I have Pinocchio. Pinocchio off the side with a marionette hand with imagination. Mickey Mouse with a magic wand. Mickey riding a Harley, stuff like that. Okay, that's the only oddball one. So. This is my 6th marriage. I had 5 honeymoons here. Well, 6 honeymoons, but only 1 marriage. And because I've gone through so many weddings, and because Disney basically was the main part of ruining these weddings, because everything I do is Disney. She goes along with it, and that's why we're sort of getting along real good. And things are working out. The others didn't, okay?
It seems like an okay idea.
An okay idea.
Well, I've never been married before. And,
she's never been to Disney.
And I was never to Disney, so.
Big items, right down to just small knick-knack junk stuff that, I collect everything, I don't get rid of anything.
George is taken to holding on to any and every piece of plastic with the Disney name attached to it. Animation cells and porcelain statues exist amongst silly novelty phones and rubber figurines.
The front of the house is right here facing the road, so everybody can see it.
George even plans on building a funhouse homage to the magical land of Disney on his own property.
18-foot water tower, like a Mickey water tower in Disney World, over in the back. To our left is going to be the 40-foot Mickey pool. In the front yard is going to be a big garden with a Mickey head, like down at Disney World. You first see when you come in, a 25-foot round garden. These are the lights in the house. Every single light in the house is a Mickey light. Every fixture is a Mickey fixture. That's the lamp pole light. This is the faucets for, every faucet has a Mickey head or Mickey Minnie head. This will be porcelain eventually. All the sinks have ears. The toilets have ears. The hot tub has ears. Everything is totally Disney. Take, for instance, the doorbell has to have ears. Every knob in the house are Mickey Mouse knobs, brass.
George has worked hard, sacrificing marriages and decor to appease his passion. He has a home full of bubbles and trinkets from the happiest place on earth, and coupled with his soon-to-be-built funhouse, his home may soon become competitive with his beloved Disney.
I give up a lot of things. I lost a daughter because of it. I lost 5 wives because of it. I spend every cent I have on it. But that's it. It's my love. It's my life. I might be selfish because I want this, but that's what I want. I'm gonna have it. I'm making up for my childhood.
George, clearly a devoted man when it comes to what he wants, seems to be happy with his choices. His tattoo collection will continue to grow, as will his legion of knickknacks. I think it's safe to say that George has taken his love of Disney to a, let's call it, magical place. Speaking of compulsion problems, we move into the world of night stalkers in Tokyo. This problem, however, is far more serious. It is far more dark and terrifying just knowing that this problem exists in the world.
This would happen every night. Every night.
Every night an Australian girl is abused?
Yep. Every night.
And is it reported to police?
No.
This is Tokyo's red light district, Roppongi. It's a Saturday night, and like millions of others, Mr. Sagawa is looking for love, and in particular, the love of a young Western girl.
Especially white young girls.
You just love young white girls?
Yeah, blonde hair and blue eyes and white skin.
Mr. Sagawa's heart had already been broken by a young Australian dancer whom he showered with gifts and money.
And where is this?
In Canada, Toronto.
So you went on holidays together?
Yes, and Talia, Rhonda, and me. I wanted to eat her. She looks very delicious.
For the shocking truth about Issei Sagawa is that he is a psychopath, a killer. He's Japan's most notorious cannibal.
First part I ate is from her hips. Yeah. I don't know why, but the hips of the girls really attract me.
One night, Issei Sagawa lured a young woman named Renee Hartevelt to his apartment. There he shot her, methodically cooked her, and ate her body. But Issei Sagawa got away with murder. Judged incurably insane by a French court, he was deported back to Japan, and once there, his influential and very wealthy father ensured that he'd never spend a day in jail.
A lot of pictures with beautiful girls.
There certainly are a lot of pictures.
Yeah, almost girls are.
Here in his bedroom, Issei Sagawa proudly keeps a record of his obsession. Now, he'd like another Australian girlfriend, preferably one who can add to his trophy wall.
Are you shocked?
Yes, I'm shocked.
I know I'm crazy. I'm crazy. So please don't hate me.
This is Issei Sagawa's hunting ground. It's a lawless place. Here, the mafia is in control. The police are paid to look the other way. On any given night, there are more than 500 girls from Australia working in bars like this.
They're the fresh meat, as they call them over there.
The fresh meat?
The fresh meat, oh yeah.
Were you working for the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia?
The owner of the company is under the control of the Yakuza.
Rob Cox has broken the Yakuza's code of silence. He's an insider. He once worked for a Tokyo strip club. Cox says it's a world where money can buy you anything. Sex, drugs, even the police.
Police and the Yakuza work hand in hand to make sure that the sex industry keeps spinning around and around.
Sometimes you can make up to 10 grand a week or more, you know.
Like every Australian girl who arrives here, Vanessa had to make a choice. She could work as a hostess in a bar, which involved nothing more than talking to Japanese businessmen, or for 4 times the money, she could become a stripper.
Part of the job entails, does it not, dealing with perfect strangers who do want to touch you?
Yeah.
So what do you do about that?
Well, that's why most of the girls get mixed up with, alcohol and drugs. In most cases, the girl will go for dinner with the customer. Like the customer will take you to Ginza, take you shopping, buy you Gucci, shoes, handbags, that sort of thing.
Once you're taken away, anything can happen.
Oh, definitely. I think, obviously it's very dangerous.
One of Karita's first dough hands was this man, a wealthy and well-connected playboy called Joji Obara.
Most of the girls who are hostesses are asked to go out on dough hands, which are dates with customers. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't. In fact, you having mentioned it just now, that's the first time I knew that that was part of the deal.
Joji Obara seemed charming and invited Karita back to one of his luxury apartments for a drink. Within hours, she was in a coma and taken to a hospital. Obara told the doctors it was something she ate. Karita died here in Tokyo Women's Hospital without regaining consciousness. Doctors ruled that she had been suffering from hepatitis.
She was very vivacious, hugely entertaining young lady.
When Karita's family asked the Japanese police to investigate, they were fobbed off, even laughed at.
And it seemed an entirely safe and a standard thing to do, really.
5 years ago, Lucy Blackman told her dad, Tim, she was heading off to Japan. It was to be the first in a series of extraordinary blunders by the Japanese police. Blunders that would allow Obara to continue to drug and rape young women for the next 8 years.
As British people, we're surprised and upset that such a terrible thing could happen to our child.
She too got a job as a hostess, and like Karita Ridgway, was taken out on a dough hand by a charming English-speaking Japanese man who invited her down to his apartment on the coast. It was the last time Lucy Blackman was seen alive.
Being date raped.
This was the outcome the Blackman family had feared but expected, the discovery of a woman's remains.
Tim Blackman's pressure finally forced the police to act. They raided Obara's seaside haunt. Lucy's dismembered body was found in a shallow beachside cave just meters from Obara's apartment. How her body could have gone undiscovered for so long is still a mystery.
It gives another dimension of horror and disgust. It's just a horrible feeling to think that, your child has been violated by somebody.
What we do know is that Joji Obara brought hundreds of young Western women here. The pattern was always the same. He would offer the girl a drink spiked with a knockout drug, then rape her while she was unconscious.
The Japanese aren't going to change, unfortunately.
And the risk for Australian girls still remains. In the seedy hostess clubs of Roppongi, It is business as usual, as we discovered when we followed Issei Sagawa on a night out. Here, Japan's most notorious criminal quickly found just what he was looking for: 3 young Australian women. Mr. Sagawa introduced himself as his favorite secret agent.
Hello. All right. How are you? Hello, hello.
Hi there.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
My name is James Bond, okay?
Issei Sagawa swears that these young women have nothing to fear from him.
I'm very scared of them.
Oh, they're nothing to
Yeah.
be scared of. They're cute.
Yeah. Never. Never. At least kill, never. Of course, I want to eat the meat of the young, beautiful girls. It was not change at all.
You still want to eat the girls, you just don't want to kill the girls.
Yeah, so I know now that killing is really terrible. So for eating, I never kill.
By the time he left, all 3 of these trusting young Australians had handed him their private phone numbers. Outside, the phone numbers were taken away from him.
How dangerous do you believe the Roppongi bars and strip clubs are for young foreign girls?
Of course, it's very, very dangerous because the customers are very rich. They can do anything, everything.
Some people claim to have a dog's life. And yet, when we look at Oliver's life, we can't see what they could complain about.
Special day today. We have a very special.
Oliver was adopted from the spa in Los Angeles by Felicia a year and a half ago. At the time, he was only 6 months old and seriously ill. Today, he's much better. He lives in Beverly Hills, and his life is a true fairy tale. Today is indeed a very special day. Oliver will go to the daycare center as usual, but he's going to have a surprise. Oliver is 2 years old, and Felicia doesn't want to miss the occasion.
Are you ready, Ollie? Are you ready? Where'd you go? Ollie, let's go. Let's go. I wasn't around for his first birthday. I didn't know him then. And I thought, you know what? Now's a great time to celebrate his birthday. So he goes to Hollywood Hounds every day. It's a doggy daycare center where you drop them off in the morning and you pick them up after work. It's like nursery school. And the people there play with them all day and play hockey and ball and catch. And all the dogs intermingle and have a great time. He has his little buddies. And today's his birthday, and we're gonna have a birthday party for him, and all of his friends will be there. Let's go shopping. That's a good boy. Okay, good.
Felicia wants the whole day to be a party, and it all begins with a big breakfast. After that, a long game of football. Then it's off to the town center to do a spot of shopping. Felicia works in the fashion industry in Los Angeles. Her days are long and very full, and she laments not being able to spend time with Oliver. So today, she wants to make up for it. She's even taken a day off work, especially for the occasion.
Hey, Ollie, what about a con toy? What do you think?
So they head for Animal Crackers, Ollie's favorite shop. Oliver has to choose his presents. What a dilemma. With his new toy, he goes onto the sweets section. To finish, he puts on a biker's outfit for the party.
I'm 35, and I'm not married, and I don't have children, and I can't imagine my life without him. He's the sweetest little baby. He protects me. He's amazing. He absolutely is amazing, and he's worth every penny. And my friends all say, especially his Aunt Corey, says that when she dies, she wants to come back as Oliver in her next life because he has the best life. And people think you're crazy sending him to daycare and grooming every 2 weeks and training classes and buying him toys and clothes and all of that. But, you know, I think they appreciate it so much. He's so happy.
It's party time, Oliver.
The big moment has almost arrived. The daycare center workers immediately take charge of Ollie. He is, of course, entitled to every consideration today.
Party time! Oliver, this is all for you.
Oliver, here comes your birthday cake.
Yay! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Oliver. Happy birthday to you. Yay, Ollie! Yay, Ollie! Good boy!
Michael Lotito is a curiosity for the scientific world. This native Frenchman is able to swallow anything, even metal. He has already eaten a plane, dozens of bicycles and trolleys, thousands of glasses, and nuts. Michael Lotito is both a fine gourmet and an exceptional record breaker. The food that he is keen on are normally found in the DIY department. You shouldn't be surprised if, accompanied by his wife, you see him ignore ham and chicken while doing his weekly market shopping. For this is a man who, when he eats in a restaurant, carefully prepares his selection of top quality products. The sharper, the more breakable or piercing the ingredients, the better the meal will be. Naturally, not every restaurant meets the requirements of the man that has the whole world nicknamed Mr. Eats All. He certainly seems to be enjoying it, but despite appearing relaxed, Mr. Eats All dominates his art, which passes first and foremost for a great control of his body. A superb concentration without which he could have an accident with even the smallest of his extravagances. As you can see from this radioscopy, the chewing technique for those ingredients is primordial for a good preparation. The next stage, the esophagus, is delicate. There is a risk of tearing the delicate tissues as the sharp objects go down. In addition to his contractions, Mr. Eats All has a little trick to make them slide down into his stomach. After all that, would anyone care for dessert?
Non, pas pour moi. Les bananes, j'en mange pas. Merci. Quand je mange une banane et que j'ai du métal dans l'estomac, ça me provoque des brûlures. Et comme je suis douillet, j'ai horreur de la douleur. Alors les bananes, malheureusement, je les mange pas.
Too bad, or rather, just as well, for Marcel loves them. Mr. Lotito prefers a different delicacy. Chewing, swallowing, and digesting the sharpest object possible is a challenge which, with experience, really excites our man. Marcel, however, is not reassured. Mr. Lotito prepares to eat the sharpest object there is.
J'ai toujours peur qu'il y arrive quelque chose parce que malgré tout, il y a toujours un risque dans chaque chose, mais je ne dois pas montrer cette peur de façon à pouvoir le rassurer.
After this controlled violence, his body progressively takes back control of things, which involves a new risk of internal bleeding. Meanwhile, also in France, there is a dormant pig in all men. At Trier-sur-Baïse, a small village in the southwest of France, hundreds of competitors meet up to participate in the pig squealing competition. That's right, the pig squealing competition. It takes place in this village once every year. A few hours before the start of the competition, these top sportsmen, who have come from all over the country, warm up the village streets. Everyone has his own technique for preparing the best possible imitation of a pig squeal. René Villette and his team of 14 are taking part in the French pig squealing competition for the 8th time. They have traveled across all of France in a minibus for the sole pleasure of playing the pig in public. They are top athletes who train all year round. René is a primary school teacher. He's even opened a pig squealing imitation school. He goes even as far as organizing a visit to one of the region's many pig farms, and this gives the two children the practice they'll need.
C'est le devant qui? Un petit rouge à lèvres, là, par là, oui. sauvage, vivant au cœur des alpages, ayant la soupe populaire.
Comment tu as appris à ce cri du cochon?
En écoutant mon père.
Voilà.
On to another competition fit for the farm, the cow patty throwing games. Farmers and competitors alike search the terrain of the farm for the most firm cow patties possible. This does actually exist. There's a crowd and someone to measure how long the patties are respectively thrown. Some might even go as far as to call it a sport.
It's unusual. I don't know how on earth anybody dreamt it up. You know, I couldn't. My son said why they throw cow pats, and I didn't have any explanation at all. Just couldn't work it out.
In Hollywood, even the furry or feathery stars go to drama class. In one of the planet's largest studios, a trainer listens to their tantrums. Hollywood, a name that evokes magic and fascination, even though the flamboyant years of this cinema capital have faded. Today, the Steven Spielbergs, George Lucases, and others have taken over with films in which the special effects are even more important than the talent and the personality of the stars themselves. But the cinematographic universe of Hollywood isn't just limited to these super productions. Here at Universal Studios, for example, among hundreds of actors employed by the studios, about 60 are trained on the spot. And these actors are unlike any other. 60 animals from different species, from mammals to reptiles, from the most intelligent to the most dexterous, from the pig to the rat, from walk-ins to big stars, like the graceful Lassie, the cunning Benji. And just like certain cinema stars, they too have their tantrums, refusing to do certain exercises. Michael Boxer is one of Hollywood's best trainers, but training an animal for the cinema obviously takes a lot of time.
Everything is different. The dog, to do the dog stuff in the show, to be a solid motion picture and television dog, it takes 9 months to a year to train everything that you want to train, the wide variety of tricks and behaviors. The primates, we start training around 3 years old, and it's an ongoing thing until they retire. They're always learning new stuff, and they're always learning new tricks, and they require the extra stimulation.
Some animals even suffer from stage fright, with everyone around them, the cameras, the lights, the stress, a whole lot of things that often result in the animal cracking up. So, to get them used to this, the trainers walk them around the studios and get them to participate in shows in public. But among the animal stars, there are also those that are gifted and totally at ease. For some of them, miming the exercises alone suffices for them to understand what is being asked of them.
Good. You like these folks? Sure? He really wants to do it now. Now touch. Good. Put these fingers up. Put them up. Touch. Touch. Good. Put your hand down. Good. And put your hand up. Good. Put them up. Put them up. Good. Now touch. Okay. Touch. That's very good. The keys to training are your imagination, persistency, and consistency. You have to be persistent. You can't ever stop doing what you're doing. And if it's not working, you try something new. You got to be persistent and consistent. Once you find something, the animal has to understand what you want it to learn, or it's never going to get anywhere. So you have to be very.
And it's really magical and, quite frankly, hilarious when the complicity between man and animal is perfect.
Give him praise and give him food at the proper time so he understands what it is that you want him to know, to understand.
All right, let's whip this do up for you like that. We'll do one of these like this. There's Don King. How about those lips? Oh, come on, over here. Show them those lips. Like this. Look at these babies. Somebody's grandma. Pretty bigger lips. Mick Jagger. Hey, where's Mick Jagger? You like these folks for this show, yeah? Pretty exciting, group. You kind of had a chance to come out here and check every. Hey, that's not very nice. You said you like the folks. Come on, they seem like a pretty good group. Like me, don't you? What do you mean, no? Quit looking around, tell the folks what you think about me. Go ahead.
You might watch this and think, hey, that's pretty extreme, riding over Magna like that. You might be impressed with the skillful navigation of daytime traffic on the bike. Maybe the riding down steps is something that tickles your fancy, or maybe something as quick and quirky as this tree stall makes you say, wow. But to be perfectly honest, you ain't seen nothing yet. This mountain, a nearly vertical incline, holds the real challenge for our extreme biker.
Bien se caler sur cette partie-là. Et puis nous, derrière, on va passer à la réalisation avec la PNC.
Not exactly your typical Sunday morning bike ride. There is, of course, a high risk of potential injury, and when such an incident occurs, it is shocking, but to a degree, expected. In the part of the Czech Republic known as Bohemia lies the legendary village of Kutná Hora. Once renowned for its riches in silver, its pretty facade hides a most macabre treasure, the Gothic Catholic Church of All Saints in the district of Sedlec. Here, the remains of about 40,000 people grace the walls, ceilings, and floors in a stunning interpretation of do-it-yourself home decorating. The ghoulish design dates back to 1870 and is the work of woodcarver František Rent. He was inspired by the need to solve a dilemma: overcrowding. The popularity of this place really took off in the year 1278 when one of the kings of Bohemia sent the abbot of Sedlec, Abbot Henry, on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He brought back with him a handful of earth, sprinkled it here in the cemetery, and turned it into sacred ground. With that one act, Abbot Henry sparked rush hour. Pilgrims literally queued for a plot. Deep in the serene landscape of America's Black Rock Desert, the nation's most intense, weird, and wildest gather at a postmodern festival that can only be described as strange. The objective? To recreate the culture. It is a primal journey back to a more primitive human experience. The Burning Man is a celebration where anything goes. The area is wide open, allowing a more natural feel to overtake the participants. In some cases, at the forfeit of comfort for others, perhaps a bit too natural.
It began 9 years ago on the beach in San Francisco. We burned a man who was about 8 feet tall on an impulse one evening. It happened to be the solstice. It seemed like a good time to celebrate. He wasn't much bigger than us, but when we lit him up with gasoline, he incandesced like a sun brought down to earth. We were so impressed by it that without even conferring, we decided that we'd come back and do it again.
Thousands of festival goers beat drums, dance naked, eat fire, whatever seizes them. However, their impulses at any particular moment may guide them. That is how they act. They do whatever makes them feel good. The only rule that comes along with the Burning Man experience is that you not infringe on anyone else's good time. You have the right to enjoy yourself, just not at the expense of someone else's good time.
People live passively now as members of mass. Their experience is vicarious. They get it through the media as they sit in darkened rooms, isolated from one another.
Don't look at that.
We bring everybody together in a community that's created by its inhabitants. It's good to regard this as a model of the cultural process.
The festival is beamed live by satellite around the world from a mobile home. They share this warm, eccentric experience with the world in the hopes that it will inspire the types of camaraderie that the participants feel.
Hail power to the west and the sunny sun! This is the postmodern San Francisco, where all the tribes from all the generations, from all the perspectives and all the times have come together. This is like the great eclectic event. This is what it is. It's Mad Max meets Zabriskie Point meets Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I mean, it's all here, okay? And it's from the beats to the digital hippies, to real-life hippies, to baby boomers, they're all here. This is it. We've all been dreaming. This is the dream come to life. This is the illusion become reality. As Stanley Marsh III, the founder, the guy who created the Cadillac Ranch in the middle of Amarillo, Texas, burying Cadillacs in the soil, he's a true monk. He understands that the purpose of life is to bring illusion to life.
An event that is not steeped in camaraderie is the Battle of the Oranges, which takes place annually on the streets of Ivrea. Ivrea overlooks the Aosta Valley in the north of Italy, and once a year becomes a battleground. The warriors' only weapons? Oranges.
molto, però qualcosetta tireranno. Se capita che tirano dobbiamo essere riparati un attimo. Niente di più, comunque la battaglia comincia più avanti.
Per i ripari, qua tirano, è una zona che tirano molto.
Founded by the Romans in 100 BC, it was once the capital of the Italic Kingdom, but today is better known for the Battle of the Oranges, the annual carnival that leaves the streets running orange, with orange juices. Some participants sport armor and masks that keep them shielded from the sting of the pelting oranges. Others seem to go into the battle with a blind fury that drives them onward, without the armor protecting them. The oranges, while soft, will no doubt leave a mark or two on anyone unfortunate enough to get caught in a crossfire. Up to 3,000 locals engage in the fierce fighting, which is excused by the freedom of expression. Anyone who travels this particular road has only one thing in mind: a great car wash. Generally, if you come to a car wash, you come to get your car washed. If you want to go flirt with women, you usually do that somewhere else. Not in this case. A normal car wash is rather banal. Brushes, water, detergent, revolving bristles is about as much as anyone can expect, although it is easier on the wallet than a topless car wash. In South America, that's a lot of money, about a week's wages for a working man. But this young man wants to have fun. The women wash about 10 cars a day. Sunday, it's even more. Even churchgoers treasure the rotating breasts. The country used to be religious, but in the new democratic South Africa, things have become much freer than during the rigid apartheid era. Sex and prostitution in the cities isn't taboo anymore. But here in the countryside, this kind of service is a novelty.
And try.
Did you know? Did you know? Every night and day
Oh, it was excellent, eh? Totally breathtaking.